Hello, everyone! Welcome back to the Rational Investors Crypto Top 100 Crypto Review, Crypto Countdown, Crypto. What the hell do we name this show? I don't know, but it sure is a lot of fun. Obviously, crypto. We're going to talk a little crypto here tonight. This is episode 46 of this little show we've been doing, week in, week out. I'm actually quite pleased to see. Now, hey Ben, what do you think? This is one full year doing this. Oh, almost. I guess we're still about 6 weeks away from the 1 year anniversary. But Ben's made it through this. He made it through like one full year. We lost a couple of the other compadres. And of course, Nick is watching this, and so I have to be very careful about what I say, because if I say anything, hey, that's not fair, man, that's not fair. No, Nick was an awesome participant, loved him dearly. And of course, he just got a new house, so what the hell? He's enjoying his new digs. But anyway, Ben here is my co-host along with Paul tonight. So why don't we go through introducing him? And of course, my name's Brian Beamish, the Rational Investor, all that kind of fun stuff. So first off, let's say hello to our almost 1 year veteran. Ben, how are you doing this morning, sir? Or this evening?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Happy to
Good.
be here. Yeah,
Awesome.
encouraging to see your friend Joey Diamond
Oh,
coming out
no.
with
Is
a
he...
recommendation to buy Bitcoin today.
Did he? Did he buy... He actually made a recommendation to buy Bitcoin today?
Yeah, JP Morgan says there's some significant upside from here. So
Really? Isn't that interesting? What knuckleheads.
yeah,
That guy came out publicly and said a year or two ago that Bitcoin was a fraud. So go figure, eh? Now that they have a position, and they have a
yeah,
controlling position, and they've gotten rid of all their competition in the stable coin business.
yeah.
Anyway. Well, good to have you on board. On the site today, we were joking about how I almost became a neighbor of Ben's today. When I was watching a piece of land that was being auctioned off in Florida. And actually it went pretty cheap. Didn't not as cheap as what Brian wants, but it did go for a fairly low price. Anyway, obviously people are still interested in buying Florida real estate. So anyway, good to have you on board, and can't wait to get your input tonight. We also heading on over the other side of the pond, I guess. We have Paul from Europe. And it's early morning for him, so he's probably just a little bit sleepy still. But Paul, how are you today?
Good morning. I'm well.
Good, good.
Waking up.
Had your smoke and
It's
coffee.
early. Yeah.
And I think he's hunting and maybe if we're lucky, we might get a screenshot or something. He can tell us a little bit about what he's doing. But a long in Bitcoin and a short on Ethereum, is that what I heard?
Yeah. All this week,
Yeah.
just playing the range game on Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah, I noticed that things have quieted down. I actually had a bullish and a bearish setup, and neither have fired yet for me. It's just a big waiting game, so we might look at those later on this evening.
Yeah, I'm just playing on smaller time frames.
Yeah, you're down like on the 15-minute chart and stuff like that. Eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
15, 5 minute chat, something
Mm.
like that.
And I see there is Nick. Nick is here over on the YouTube page. You're probably the only person over there. But anyway, great to see you. And by all means, if we have other people who chime in and participate on the YouTube page, I'm sure Nick will help them out over there. Actually, I don't know. It says that there's 9 people watching right now. Ooh, what an audience. Obviously, Bitcoin price action. Oh boy. I think we've taken a little bit of steam out of the market, eh? But actually, Ben was telling me interesting. Hey, Ben, if you could find that article, that would be kind of cool. I wouldn't mind either tweeting it out or attaching it to the video. But Ben tells me that Joey Diamond actually wants you to buy Bitcoins now. So imagine that.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw that too.
I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you, just looking at the Bitcoin chart. You know, here, I don't know whether I said this a moment ago or not while we're on the air. But here are the bearish potential setup and the bullish potential setup that are working right now on Bitcoin for me. But I suppose if the institutional players keep in mind that it's not really Bitcoin related specifically, probably more like tech stock and broader market on the and I was talking about it with the site peeps today. It's incredible how often I make reference to this blog. That's totally free. You can come on the rationalinvestor.com, the blog, and this information is just so invaluable. But anyway, I love making reference to this stuff through the year. So this is basically our general roadmap, what to expect for the year of 2022. Work done by Larry Williams, if you're familiar with him. And he also did another follow-up video to this about 2 or 3 months ago, which he kind of figured was still basically on track. And notice how the whole risk market, this is sort of a generic, overlapping of, I think it's the Dow, or it might be the S&P 500, of all the years that end in 2s, and then sort of like an average. Notice how right about mid-year, everything's just looking like it's going to hell in a handbasket. Everything's down. You turn on the television now, all you hear are the talking heads. Oh, it's the end of the world. Everything's going to zero, recession, all that. When, ironically enough, they're probably selling into the bottom. So it's fascinating that somebody like Joey Diamond comes out and says, hey, buy Bitcoins. It wouldn't surprise me if we actually see a pretty violent pivot back to the upside somewhere within the next month or two. So that's encouraging. I mean, we were sitting here months ago going, oh, God, the first half of this year is going to just suck major horse you-know-whats. So here we are. We're almost through this mess. If anything, we got to be thinking brighter skies ahead. The reservation that I have specifically, this is a chart of the typical sort of U.S. presidential, or I guess congressional election year, sort of mid-term. And if you have a Democratic president, midterm election, that's this sort of darker dotted line. And unfortunately, that's the one that does the worst through here. But the interesting thing about this is that if this is the darker dotted line, you'll notice that May-June trough, it produces a hell of a rally. A rally, almost it takes us right back up into basically the topping area on the market. So, and we've also noticed that crypto seems to follow along the tech sector very, very closely. Specifically like Bitcoin, probably Ethereum too. So, get ready, folks. I mean, there might be a fairly substantial rally here in the next couple months. And Mr. Williams was just basically saying that his cue, what he's looking for to sort of mark that, we're ready to rock and roll and turn back up, is he just wants to hear news that the inflation problem is under control. I think probably the easiest way for the market to sort of get its head wrapped around inflation and at least feel as though they have some confidence in the banking system is this, it used to be called the TED spread. Now we call it the Fed spread because we use Fed funds, which is basically a private cartel of banks that control our society. That sounds like fun. But long and short of it here, as this teal line was moving up here, this was basically the market saying, hey, you silly banksters, you're losing control of the system. You better get your act together. The sort of magic line that you want to watch for that trouble is really brewing is 1.0, like a full percentage spread between corporate and the guaranteed paper. And you notice with the Fed waking up and saying, okay, fine, we got to raise short-term interest rates. Well, there goes that relationship back below 1.0. So that's a good sign. I mean, the market believes that the Fed is getting serious. This is sort of the spot market. And if we start looking out the curve, here's the September contracts. You can start to see starting to M out. So the market's believing, as we head down into the future, it's believing that the Fed's getting control of this situation. Then if we look out into like December, so this is like the futures contracts for a good 6 months from now. Yep, again, you can see not quite an M. It's still a bit skeptical. So once these things start Ming out, then I think we got a pretty good indication that the market believes the Fed's in front of the curve here. We can move that up a little bit so you can see it a bit more. So you can see problem. We sort of felt like you got control of the situation. Keep in mind, this is a very, very deferred contract. Then, oh boy, of course, good old Vladdy over there in Eastern Europe didn't help the situation. Talk about definition of supply bottlenecks. Right now, huge swaths of the food supply, of course, could be in big trouble. Thank you, Vladdy. So as a result, a whole bunch more inflation, price inflation. And really, the Fed has basically said, look, the only way that we can get in front of this is we have to start cranking short-term interest rates up, and we have to kill demand. And that's, the irony of all of this, everyone, is that they always say the more that history, the more that things change, the more they stay exactly the same. History often doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme a lot. And probably the easiest way for it, this is what I think is going to happen. This is our future, believe it or not. You guys don't even know what's about to hit us across the forehead here over the next 10, 20 years. And it makes sense too, because nobody in our society is looking for that growth. But that's down the road. More sort of short-term kind of conversation. I don't think I can really add too much more to this. I think, the picture's pretty obvious. So, as we were cranking up here, of course, everybody in the market was freaking out. Now that we've gone and M'd out, people are kind of feeling like the Fed's getting in front of the curve, and they're sort of like, they're trying to deal with this price inflation. If anything, the key here, ironically enough, is as soon as the workers actually feel as though they can demand higher wages to offset these higher prices for commodities around us, that's the point that the Fed wants to try and avoid. So they want to try and kill the economy as much as possible and get it back to the point where workers are actually thankful that they have a job versus, hey, screw you, boss man. This other company down the street's going to pay me more. I'm out of here. So that's sort of what the phase that we're going on now. And, a lot of the economic data is coming out basically supporting that kind of thinking. So I think the Fed's getting what it wants. If we pop back on over, and actually this econs tab sucks, so actually we need to clean that out. If we go in the library and pull up econs, there are some sort of initial econ numbers that are coming out, sort of indicating that they're killing the economy. Isn't that weird? I don't know why that link doesn't work. Anyway. Today, for instance, we had mortgage applications. That's falling right off a cliff. We actually have an M working there. And how ironic, this silly housing market got bid up to insane levels. And I'm even starting to hear the frothy and insane or nutso real estate market of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada is actually starting to show some cracks locally here. But in essence, this is what the Fed wants. They things like durable goods orders, they were really, really steep of late. And if anything, I think they want to try and get these to calm down and break down. So the more sort of data that we see, didn't really get a hell of a lot of help out of the crude inventories. You can see the potential M again. If this M's out, that's bullish of price, not bearish. So if anything, the Fed wants to see higher highs and higher lows on these inventory numbers. So, I don't really see anything that goes, oh my God, okay, they have broken the economy. It's a lot of sort of still mid-stream, if you will. And my hunch is probably over the next, say, 6-8 weeks, we start to see a lot of these data points start to show the effect of rising cost of borrowing and basically a generally slowing of the economy. You know, they always say that the stock market's the ultimate leading indicator in any economy anyway. So really simply put, you know, if and this is, you know, it's an interesting anecdote. If the stock market is the ultimate leading indicator, you can see it's already rolled over. We're not really breaking in earnest right now. We're just testing very natural, normal levels. If this actually is a top, and it's interesting if you look at things like the NASDAQ, and of course, you know, Bitcoin probably follows NASDAQ a little closer. You can see that we've done a little bit more technical damage here. If we put on all of the levels, there's 38.2. It's been given. So now, you know, on NASDAQ, we're actually in that pump chaser zone of Collins. And you can see, I mean, the like I said, this is the easiest way for you to actually see what the economy is actually doing. You can see we're rolling over here. And what I've noticed is it's a lot of the sort of darlings of the previous cycle that look a little suspect, you know. And of course, darling of darlings, I was actually quite surprised to see that already this thing has already fallen about 50% from its peak. So this is good old Mr. I love this. Somebody told me on this site that. You can already start to see the media machine. Somebody owns Twitter, and they're very angry at Alan for you know, upsetting the apple cart, if you will. And I think Alan sort of figured out that actually a lot of the Twitter accounts that they tout that they have are actually BS. And I think he just wanted to actually have them publicly acknowledge that most of the accounts there are actually just robots that are just feeding out tweets that are just serving the 1% and all that nonsense and trying to stoke the emotional reaction of the humans. But I do find it interesting that Alan's stock here topped out at $1,200, and here we are flirting with 600. So it's already been knocked in half. I mean, it's quite remarkable how quickly this happens, eh? And one thing that did jump out at me that I was quite surprised about is that is now, and actually we just change it to a regular chart, that's actually now an M. So you don't see that every day. You know, as technicians, we're not really we don't even really care about, you know, who the directors are. We're just talking about purely supply and demand for the stock in the marketplace. If I change this to a line chart, boom, hello. So clearly the market's speaking. And I think this has everything to do with this 2021, 2020, a Jupiter-Saturn cross, 6 different celestial events. And, you know, I think we've also talked to you guys lots about how interest rates have put in what I would consider a historical pivot here as well. Going the other direction, interest rates going up. And now we're sort of back. I mean, we went through this really odd window here where this was very abnormal. You know, all around the damn cocoa and, you know, all these silly socialists all getting elected in governments around the world saying we can spend all the money we want. There's no financial repercussions, MMT, you know, it's the whole new world order and all that beat. It turns out money actually does cost something, and actually a lot of the risk market is being completely repriced because of this event. Sort of, you know, oh God, I can never remember the term. Anyway, the forward discounting mechanism of the market that takes in future earning streams. If interest rates and the cost of money going forward are now like literally twice what they were down here, 3 times in some cases, all of those models have to be readjusted. And yeah, and you see it in the stock market. The stock market, all of the risk assets are just, you know, they're coming right off, including cryptocurrencies, which I might argue are very risky oriented. Of course, a lot of people don't like that, but I still think they're on the risk spectrum. In fact, probably an easy way for you to see that is you can actually see, this is a study. Historically, energy prices are sort of the leading edge of the commodity curve. And if you want to grow, obviously it's going to cost more energy. So often these energy and things like the stocks move in conjunction. And I think Bitcoin also as a proxy. And here you can see the correlation with stocks. It's fairly tight. Then on the other side of the equation, gold is the last commodity in this cycle. So this is like demand. It goes cost push and then demand pull. If the workers are all demanding more wages, higher wages, then obviously that's inflationary, which of course sends the gold price higher. Bonds and yen just got an absolute taken apart of late. And I think half the reason why gold has not acted the way that bonds and yen have is, of course, with Vladdy. Notice that through the sort of military incursion, especially when it looks like Vladdy was doing well, gold and oil actually were moving up in unison. And usually gold and oil actually move in opposites. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. We're starting to, and it's interesting that like we run a day trading program on the site, and the day trading room, we noticed more and more people are saying, hey, we went through a really weird period there right after Vladdy did his thing in February. And the price action in the market, things just our classic setups just fell apart. But one of the setups, they're just basically buying against lows, selling against highs. People are noticing that it's starting to work again, meaning that maybe we're sort of getting back to sort of business as usual in the market to a certain degree. Of course, today, unfortunately, is a little bit of a sad note in the market and in our society. Horrible thing happened down there in Texas today. I guess like yesterday. In fact, my old prop firm that I used to work for, one of the gentlemen who's his principal there, I'd never seen him so shaken up. And I've known him for 10, 15 years easily. And wow, he was noticeably disturbed today. Poor guy. So obviously everybody who has any sort of connection to Texas is probably feeling pretty upset right now. So in a weird sort of way, you don't really like to say this. It's not really politically correct, but in a weird sort of way, we kind of almost want to have something like this. I mean, you prefer it to be something else. Obviously, children being killed is not a good thing. But maybe this might actually take the attention away from the markets, away from asset prices. They'll just slowly go and put in their bottom, May, June. We're expecting that anyway. And, maybe we spend some time as a society seriously debating gun control, all that kind of talk. And priorities are elsewhere aside from speculating on asset prices. So there's your backdrop of what we're facing here in the short term. Party. Our fun little competition, trying to call the direction of the market. If anything, great example of why it's probably not a good idea to get into the business of predicting the future. I don't think I'm doing a very good job at predicting the future here. I can say my show co-hosts are much better at predicting the future than I am. So congratulations, guys. So you can see Ben filled this in here for me a few minutes ago. We were up about 3% on the week. Seeing this a lot recently. Notice how we went down 3.5% and then the next week straight back up 3.5%. Almost basically creating a non-event out of these 2 weeks. Brian was looking for a downer to continue that pattern. So way to go, Brian. Wrong again. I can joke about this kind of stuff because frankly speaking, I don't really, maybe even subconsciously I even try to be wrong just to prove my point. I don't think it's a good idea for anybody to get into the business of predicting the future, and I've never met anybody who can do it consistently. Every once in a while you pull one out of your butt and you look like a genius, but most times you're you're actually triggered by emotional responses to be thinking one direction, and it's exactly at that point that the market flips around and goes the other way. And actually, just on this side, before we get into this, like I said, we run a day trading room on this site, and every day at 8:20 in the morning, we do a survey, and we just sort of pick what do you think's going to happen by the close. And ironically enough, where's our best predictions for the following day? And I do it with the guys in the room because again, I want to just demonstrate that getting into that business of predicting the future it's a difficult business at best. But I wanted to show you. I don't know whether I have it or not. Like I said, every day we do these little calls, so it's on here somewhere. I guess it was yesterday on the yes. Whenever we get into a situation where we do a poll and the whole group is thinking one direction, but there's one person who's a holdout and they're thinking the other direction, usually on those days, the one person that's going the other direction, they're usually right. It's quite remarkable. The problem is I got to find the damn chart when I had it on there. Isn't that bizarre? I don't know what I've done with it. Anyway, that sucks. Also, too, we're switching contracts here, aren't we? Damn. I hate when I'm caught flat-footed like this. Anyway, somewhere on all these I have all my prediction little boxes. Oh, here we go. So, actually, this is an interesting one. So, I like to do this on a consistent basis. But it was interesting to see how we did a poll. I mean, this is probably a good example. You can see the market's just screaming down, right? So we do the poll, and I was like, well, feels like market's going to head lower. What does the market do? Literally right at our poll, damn market turns around and heads up and closes higher on the day. So, what a great example. I will say, we did have one situation the other day, and it was kind of cool, where we did a survey, and it was on a Friday, and because of options expiry information, I kind of had like a little hint that there was going to be a bit of a counter trend rally through the day. So we did our survey right here. And at this point, everybody was like, we're going to hell in a handbasket. We're going straight down, straight down, straight down. And I had my little options expiry information that said, no, I think the market's going to actually close higher. And I was the only one. So if I ever see a situation like this, then I know that I'm probably onto something. So I thought that was kind of funny. So we do this in the stock market. It's humbling, but it's also interesting. We had a gentleman who came on the site recently. Cypher is his name, and I'm sure that's not his real name. But anyway, I don't know whether it was. I think maybe it was the Russell 2000 one that we had on there. He actually is really good, and Andrew as well, really good at not only picking direction, but also picking actual price target levels. So I was pretty darn impressed. Well, anyway, I can't find it anyway. So, here. So, Cypher picked 1769 as a target, and the market finished at 1769. It's like, damn, we got to subscribe to Mr. Cypher's newsletter. And Andrew, he had a pretty good bet. He was like, I think we're going up to 1760 by the end of the day. So, there are some guys on the site that actually are pretty good at this game. But if you ever, it's the invitation's open to all our vets. Basically, if you've taken the whole education program and jumped through all the hoops with Brian, I want you on the site. So we encourage all the site vets to just come hang out in the day trader room, and hey, we all help each other. And I helped everybody see how I can lose money today. I had a setup that I traded, and I lost money today. Way to go, Brian. You're awesome. Just goes to show that, you trade your setups. Hopefully they're vetted. At least 2-to-1 risk reward. So I do expect to be wrong and have losing days. It's just the way that it goes. So back to our original conversation. Might as well get it out of the way right away. There's Brian. Brian was wrong. Way to go, Brian. Maybe sharpen up your crystal ball skills. Sharky, and actually I had quite a few of you comment through the week that you really enjoyed Joshua's participation in the group. Ben was kind of wondering whether we could have Sharky on here, kind of distract me, derail me a little bit, prod me. What was the word? What was the term that you used earlier?
Wind you up.
Sorry?
Wind you up.
Wind me up. Because Sharky knows what to say.
He sure does.
Anyway, looks like Sharky was unequivocally wrong, but actually, is he more right than I am? I think so. Because at least the market was up, so he was only 1 mark off, whereas I was actually expecting down. So neutral would have been 1 mark wrong, and then I was like 2 marks wrong. So Sharky's better at crystal ball reading than I am, that's for sure. Ben, where were you? I guess you never did vote last week, eh? You took last week off. Anyway, so...
Yeah, I was out last week.
Fair enough. Paul's a very fine day trader. Paul does every once in a while pop into the day trading room, and it's a joy having him on. He's more of a Bitcoin, actually, like you like to trade on Binance, don't you?
Yeah, on Binance and usually Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah. So in a weird sort of way, we're all gnarly old futures traders. We're trading on like Sierra charts and Cunningham's T4 and all that kind of stuff. So Paul is actually one of these sort of new generation kid guys. But anyway, and if you want to, Paul, you can share a chart of a current setup or not that you're in, and talk a little bit about what you're doing in the market. But congratulations, you were correct.
Yeah, first time.
We'll give you a. We'll go. Winner. Chicken dinner. Nice. So Paul was as right as right can be. So maybe we have our new crystal ball reader here for the show. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. So before we're done, we'll check in with the panel and see where they think we're going next week. And we'll get a vote from Ben this week. So that'll be kind of cool. So anyway, nice to have you back. Did you... were you on a vacation, or was it a work trip that you had to do, or can you talk about it? Maybe CIA is not allowed to talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
Okay. Well, hey, he's smiling. The tone sounds to be pretty relaxed, so hopefully you had a good break there.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this. Obviously, crypto market pretty sanguine right now. I think a lot of the charts that we've been putting up were kind of like, what you see here. No. A lot of no's. And are we even at the point where we have price structure that's working? We had 1 yes here. Almost all of these are no. They had a big mess. So this was the best idea of the night. Let's see what this is. This was a few weeks ago. This was Bitcoin Cash, Bcash. I remember when you ever said Bcash, was it Roger Ver? I think it's Roger Ver. Is that it? Man, he got all upset when you called this thing Bcash. Just freaked out. Don't really hear too much about Roger Ver anymore, eh? These guys have all gone very quiet. Anyway. Let's go see what he did. Where's Bcash? It's pronounced Bitcoin. I remember he did that big. He gave the guy the finger on YouTube. That became like a big meme kind of thing. Okay, well, maybe we'll just load up a fresh chart here. I've got too many charts. What is it? BCH? Is that it?
Yep.
Is that Bitcoin Cash? I suppose if we look at it on Coinbase. We must have been looking at it through here. So a really good example where actually it looks like everything was ramping up. Everything was getting ready to rock and roll. And as about the middle of March, the wheels just started falling off the bus. Boosh, down we go. Pretty good example that if you were trading this, right, and we lose that floor, look out. Boosh. Look at the capitulation volume too. Ay, 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 ay. So that's almost kind of like a rage quit, get me out. If anything, that also might be a pivot low. That's a lot of volume, eh? Wonder why. I wonder what tripped that up. Maybe it was coming up against... Looks like there's some serious buying interest down against these levels here, right? So, most recent W action. Anything, I think we saw this quite a bit on a lot of markets where they put this kind of floor in the market, goaded everybody into thinking that the market had bottomed and that was it, and then they all got slammed. And unfortunately, this happens a lot in these kind of market states. It's just evil. Anyway, so my hunch is as we go through this list and look at all these names, you're going to see a lot of stuff that looks like this. If anything, this is a really, really good testament to these 4-year cycles. Actually, I was thinking about doing that for the show tonight, but I guess I never got around to it. I wanted to show you guys all of these cycles. I got to get off my butt and do that. Anyway, this was and I think that this cycle looks a lot like the 13-14 cycle. The only problem, of course, is that Allen came along and really screwed up this whole... This rally last spring was not supposed to be as big as it was. And isn't that interesting how 1 year ago... Do you guys remember 1 year ago we were doing Allen on Saturday Night Live and everybody thought Bitcoin was all the rage? And man, how times have changed, eh? So quickly. It's remarkable how quickly this world has changed. So... there is that Allen chart. Man, that's stunning to see that image. Straight up, straight down. Again, I think actually that was the reference that I made on the site. Was it looked like the market was trying to put in a bottom here a few weeks ago. So, ironically enough, Allen probably suffered the same fate as everybody else. Right? Make it look like there's a floor and then bang. Huge dump. So, nasty bear. So, my hunch is a lot of names that we're going to look at are going to look exactly like this. You know, same thing as that Bcash, Doge, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Probably all look very similar. So, with that said, where do we want to go tonight? I mean, do we want to just... what do you think is probably the best course of action here, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably going to be a lot of the same stuff that we're going to see, but I really like the idea of going back to that Bitcoin chart that you've done, because I don't think we've really done a big kind of long-term perspective on this show of the crypto market, and kind of saying, because I know you've mentioned on, maybe it was a daily brief or Broiler Chicken showed, that we'll know, it'll be abundantly clear when the market has kind of bottomed and it's time to start thinking about getting back in again. So I don't know, I think it could be a good idea to get a picture in mind of what that looks like, so that we can see, are we there yet? And that might even be a good thing to put on the homepage of the app. So
are we there
open
yet?
it up and go, are we there yet? Because I think this is a time where, you know, you think it's bottomed and then boom, like you can still drop another 90%, and you think it's bottomed and then it drops another 90%, and it can be quite difficult to navigate that.
Yeah. So half of the reason why I mentioned all that interest rate stuff earlier is that I think that Bitcoin moves in a very similar sort of circular, cyclical. I can never get those words right. In a very, very normal, circular pattern. these charts. Should probably put some of this stuff away. Actually, you want to see something pretty freaky? Sort of big picture stuff. This is a study of the yellow lines are how these stocks acted through the 2020 top in the market. I gotta say that over. Sorry, 2000 top in the market. So where were you in the year 2000, Ben? Can you even remember?
I was pretty young. I was, yeah, probably on my skateboard.
On your skateboard. Cool. Were you still? Were you even over here, or were you still down under? At that point?
Yeah, I was down under. Yeah, it was all about the Sydney Olympics that year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is Microsoft, Amazon. Amazon was just a brand new company then. AMD as an example of a semiconductor company. And Cisco Systems as an example of a networking company. The interesting thing is, at the exact same time as this Cisco Systems was doing its thing, there was a company in Canada called Nortel Networks. And basically Nortel Networks went out of business. Literally, they went to zero, and it's gone when this broke. So Cisco actually was able to survive. But I guess it's just a really good example of what did the end of these crazy Jupiter-Saturn cross events sort of look like. This is like generational pivots. And more importantly, what does the other side of them look like in 2000 and then 2001? By the end of 2001, let's say the beginning of 2002, the whole dot-com economy conversation was completely over. And the entire conversation about the whole society was about, the war on terror and all that nonsense. So, just be prepared, folks. The world that you've just come from, the past 5 years or so, it's not going to be the same world going forward over the next 5 years. And this might take some time to clean up the damage that's being done that's been done. As I showed you with that Tesla earlier, and you look at, we could probably, the problem is you can't really do something like Tesla because it didn't exist back then. But, it might be interesting to look at something like an Apple. And the irony of it all is Apple, you couldn't give the stock away in 2000. It was such a piece of crap. But there's Apple now. Again, what are we supposed to ever think and keep in mind, these are like longer term charts. What are we supposed to think if you ever see the market smiling at you? I mean, that's not a good sign if you're an investor. Bad sign. And then we have like Tesla. Right. They sort of, I consider Tesla kind of like a unicorn story stock. And again, lots and lots of smiles. Very dangerous looking market. So the general message that where I wanted to start this off with is that we've got a bit of a tough slog ahead of us. And really the worst part about this is that this sort of slog, if you look at it from the Bitcoin perspective, pretty normal, right? Actually very predictable, which is the irony of all of this. Which chart do I want to show you? Nope. This one. So, this is going back, here's 2012, 13, 14. This is sort of when I first got introduced to Bitcoin. And what I want you to concentrate on are these lines down here. Right, also, if we just pull that correction chart up. Of all these, and actually let's get rid of those two, so we don't need that. Right, break, saucer bottom, break, saucer bottom. And look how long it took before we actually started making serious looking W's. Break, saucer bottom, break, saucer bottom. So just generally speaking, like what kind of time frame are we talking here? This is going to take like a couple of years before you actually start seeing the W's coming back in on these assets. Seriously, a couple of years. It's going to take a while. So if we go back to the Bitcoin chart, and the irony of it all is that Bitcoin goes, duh, I've already been there. Every 4 years I do exactly the same thing. Why would anything be any different? So you have these absolute insane face rip rallies. Oh, everybody's rich. Oh. Then we have basically about a year of just crap. And you see where, at the same time too, we can just have a nice little Bitcoin chart. In fact, here, why don't we do it on, no, actually. Yeah, take it easy, Paul. The one thing I'm worried about Paul here is he talks too much, so we have to give him breaks so he can go and recharge. So Paul said he'll be back in 5 minutes. Poor old Paul. Thank you so much for joining me here, Paul. I love having you on the call. As soon as you want to talk to us about what setups you're working right now and sort of your mental state and stuff, yeah, you got the floor, dude. So, all right, you can see where our top is. If we just use that same simple logic, I don't want to overthink this. This is a daily chart. Why don't we change it to a weekly chart so we can make it see it a little easier? 52 weeks, yeah, that's what a usual year is, something like that. So that would basically be something like there to there. Top. So really shouldn't expect this thing to actually finish whatever this down move is until over here, way over there. So back to our chart we were looking at there a second ago, and I'll sort of flip back to this. So there is that 1 year slide. This was 58 bars. Ugh, yuck. So that's pretty normal. Also too, very normal. Usually we have to take back. There's one gentleman that I really respect on this sort of Bitcoin universe, a gentleman by the name of Simon Dixon, Bank to the Future, probably richer than all of us put together now. He basically said anytime you see Bitcoin correct more than 70 to 80% of the range, just get in there and start buying. It's really simple. So you want to wait for like a full year, wait for 70 to 80% corrections. It's not a bad idea. There is that 1 year. So if we just do that and that alone, nothing else, then there's the most recent range. That was the bottom right there. 70 to 80%, and actually we were kind of humming and hawing about this on the site. When it comes to venture capital, I'm almost tempted to actually rewrite the education program and give the 70 to 88% range the reload zone name. Actually, even like 78 to 88%. But even like the middle of our old reload zone. This is a really, if anything, this is a fantastic analogy of a trader's life. Because keep in mind, before I was in the Bitcoin space, I used to live in this sort of trader's world life at the prop firm and guys just talking about CME and stuff. And there's a guy I used to work with, Brandon Rigo, who his name was Mountain Man, and he was just a killer trader, and he would always buy this 61.8. So you can even see that that's him right there. He actually did that trade. Now the interesting thing here is he probably bought, then he would liquidate on a return to the mean. You can see where this candle finished and this one opened up. Probably sell like half of the position, make a little bit of money, then just put his stop at scratch on the remaining, and if the market comes back down, he walks away. That's a pretty normal trade for a futures trader, kind of, pit trader kind of guy. But I noticed, especially in venture capital, I still think things like Bitcoin are, to all intents and purposes, still venture capital. And then, of course, if we go down the food chain, down to things like shit coins and all that kind of fun talk, DeFi and all that, that's entirely venture capital. So we probably should be thinking down here anyway. If we just keep it really simple, reload zone, that's what I like to call this, 61.8 to 78.6. And we know Mr. Simon Dixon is sitting down, what should we give him? We'll give him just a big happy face right there at 70 to 80%. So he's sitting right down at the bottom end of that reload zone. Also, too, and of course, this is a shout out to my co-host. If we have the market come back down and check, and actually the boys on the YouTube, this is a shameless plug for the YouTube stream. But I noticed the boys on the site, under direction from Julian, with the help of Josh and Chris, have been putting together these little cute short videos. They're like about 5-10 minutes long on just some of the topics that we cover through our conversations. And actually the other day we did one on what the heck are Wyckoff checks. Who is Wyckoff? Richard Wyckoff. Somebody had asked the question. Actually, it looks like quite a few views. So this is actually, these daily brief shorts, this is going to turn into a really, really good catalog of short videos that actually give you all the secret sauce of how to trade. The only problem that I have with this video right now is we should probably have it say, what is the Wyckoff check? Screw Wyckoff. They're now called Benkoff checks. Yeah, there's a nice big smile out of Ben's face. I always like to make him smile, so that's good. So check out this little YouTube feed channel here. This is gold. Absolute gold here. So anyway, I'm really proud of the boys for putting these together. So we'll see what comes of it. But I think that's good karma. Great learning material. And Sior did a presentation the other day on why we don't put all of our eggs in one basket. I have 2 very simple rules of investing. And if you follow the rules of investing, something like what happened with Luna the other day, it's, worst case scenario, you lose 5% of your portfolio. Unfortunately, some of the younger guys, even my business partners, got to learn this lesson. It's a hard lesson to learn. You know what I always say, listen to me now, believe me later. But a lot of the times people listen to me now, but they don't believe me. They have to learn it the hard way. So, Brian's 2 rules of investing. Try and remember that second rule to keep you out of trouble. Anyway. Hey, there's another person asking about Ubic. It's funny how a couple people have asked about Ubic. So, Nolan, what do you think my cost basis on holding the rest of my Ubic is? Remember, what did I just say there a moment ago, Nolan? About Luna. About Brian's second rule of investing. So if I get into a free position on one of these, these altcoins kind of idea, I don't even really care. I'll hold on to it. It's no big deal to me. So just try not to take more than 5% risk on any single idea. All right, so back to our story here about Bitcoin. Range. Usual typical sort of correction window. Basically checking old breakout levels. Gonna have to do this, Ben, sorry. We've labeled these Wyckoff checks so everybody in the public at least knows what we're talking about. Seems pretty logical that Bitcoin's probably got a date down here. I mean, it's just common sense. So that's sort of the very basic of when I think this market ought to bottom, just based on history. And what Bitcoin does. So, you know, if anything, what we can do is we'll go, this one we'll label the 1415 bottom. Something like that. Then we'll go look at that's this one. And see, that took, what does that say? 58 bars. Yeah, 50. Well, it looks like it's spawned. I guess it was right to there, right? Well, maybe that's one off. 59 bars. Oh, even worse. So 59 bars. So we'll stretch that out. 59. Alright, so something like that. Then let's look at the next one. Here we are again. Notice this pattern looks awfully familiar. So the top of the market there, you can see that was, remember, what's his face was president, Mr. Orange Toupee. And we bottomed out almost, this one was weird because it was almost exactly 1 year to the date where we actually hit the low, 52 bars. Quite remarkable. So we can copy that one. Which one was I did? Here, right? And we'll put that. Boom. I guess that was, yeah, right there. There. So this was the oops. Oh darn. Okay, it's not working. Anyway, I wanted to copy that text for you. Try one more time. Come on, baby. And boom. There we go. Alright, so this is the I guess 1819 bottom. Something like that. And this one we said was 59 bars, right? 52 bars, beg your pardon. 52. So that's there. Then, let's see, what was there? We have one more here, don't we? I thought we had one more. And actually, no, this is the 1718, I guess, is the year we have to use. So. 14, though, is a correction. Let's go with this. 1819, that's fine. And I can't believe, you know, to be perfectly honest with you, I can't believe how quickly this past 4 years has gone by. It almost doesn't even feel like it happened. Doesn't it feel like this whole cocoa world, we're kind of living in a weird dream? It just doesn't even feel normal. So, anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah? You feeling that?
Yep.
Anyway, so there's one cycle peak. There's another cycle peak. I thought there was a third one in here. What am I missing here? Anyway. So, you know, even if we just do the two of them, I know there's one more cycle in here. And I think it's because I think I have to use the Brave New Coin Index to see the cycle from back in like 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12 kind of idea. But anyway, if we just use those two. Generally speaking, I like and if we just do an average, right? So we don't necessarily need to say that it's going to be either one or the other. Let's just say it's an average. So 59 or 52, yeah, let's go like, I don't know, 55 or 56, somewhere in there. So there's 56. That sounds like it's pretty close between the middle of the two, right? 2, 9, 11. So 55 and a half, 56, something like that. So if we did top November 8th, my hunch is December 5th. That's probably when we bought them. And it's interesting that December 5th date. So think about that. And then we go back and we look at Mr. Decennial and the election year. And notice, look at that bottom right at the end of November and the rest of the risk market. So in essence, it almost looks like this is an inverted head and shoulders down here at the bottom here, going through that U.S. election. And there is that early December window. If Bitcoin puts in its ultimate bottom through this window, that would basically be almost exactly in line with this presidential election, or the congressional election cycle. And then the other thing that I would add to that is the interest rate cycle, which is this image. You'll notice that this chart, you can see that this cycle moves in very predictable pattern. And sort of the very height of the interest rate freak out. And in a weird sort of way, actually, there is a point where if interest rates are relatively strong and they're rising and the economy can handle it, the economy does relatively okay. But I think that we sort of hit that interest rate peak, and that comes in next September. So what I see happening here is if we go back to sort of that 15 scenario, once we actually see that interest rates have peaked and they starting to rally, notice like that is 2018, and that's 2019, and that's 2020. How did Bitcoin do following like March, April 2018? Well, I guess it did okay. But really, I would even say sort of like here, where interest rates actually are going to start to fall. December 2018, that's actually the Bitcoin bottom. And when we go through this falling interest rate environment, Bitcoin usually does actually pretty well. So back to this sort of thinking that I think that the market actually sort of goes through its bottoming pattern. So this first image is the down move. And I think the down move sort of finishes somewhere this fall. This late fall, early winter. Then if you go back and look at previous years, notice there's this window where, and this goes on for quite a while, like here to where it actually W'd out. That window is roughly 41 weeks. Well, we're getting on the better part of a year, right? So this is what, this was, if I'm not mistaken, this was Mike Hearn's Rage Quit event right there. And I remember when he threw up his coins and he was like freaking out and everybody's getting all upset. And you literally saw them on the DOM. There was like 30,000 Bitcoin or something like that. And you literally watched the market just churn through them. Churn. And as soon as they were gone, it was like, okay, the bottom is in. And all of this sort of selling, negative euphoria, it all kind of just stopped in here. What was really interesting was through here, if you actually went on Phoenix actually started to break down, because remember the Phoenix hack. Were you guys around for the Phoenix hack? You remember that? Ben says no. Paul, were you around then?
No.
Anyway, and that's where Mr. Bank to the Future actually came in and saved Bitcoin. I think basically if he didn't step in and save Bitcoin there, I think Bitcoin was toast. But anyway, and hopefully, fingers crossed, you actually see that the Luna story goes the same way as the Phoenix token story. If that's the case, then ironically enough, everybody who's in Luna and all the different various different development project spin-offs, just got to sit tight and hope that the White Knight comes along, like Mr. What the hell was his name again? I said Simon Dixon. And I mean, I don't know what the story with Luna is. I don't know it anybody better than anybody else. But I think there is a sliver of hope. Who knows? There's always a little bit of hope in this space. But anyway, point of the matter here is the bottom took about 41 bars. So if we now copy that, and we'll go back to today, and we overlay, this was the top to bottom, and then we overlay the window for it to go from it bottom to it actually spitting out a new buy signal. 44 bars, that puts us all the way over here. Right there. If we apply the same logic for, I don't know whether you can see that, maybe we should make that a different color. If we apply the same logic, right, so we'll say weekly W equals trend, trend back up. If we apply the same logic for that 1718, or I guess 1819 bottom, that's this cycle, you notice that actually this one took even longer. And actually, I think what happened here, believe it or not, is I think that the 1% figured this was the bottom. And that we were going to turn up through here, and away we go. And then along came Coco. And Coco, I think, to be perfectly honest with you, I think Coco actually caught the 1% off guard, and even something like Bitcoin. I honestly believe that. But if we just use the simple logic, there's the bottom. Where did the market actually break out and confirm a weekly W? Well, that is until way over here, right? So that's 98 bars. But by the time we got here, we've actually cleared through all of this. I might even argue that maybe the turn even came in here, because you can kind of see how this made a huge inverted head and shoulders. So I actually would say that because of the Coco mess, which sort of sent us back about 3 or 4 months, I think probably the bottoming window from bottom to new bull market was 85 bars. So if we lay that over top of here, that actually didn't give us a breakout until way over here. All right, and this was I think this was our Coco inconvenience. That's probably the best way I would call that. So again, we're not really going to predict to the day what's going to happen. Why don't we just take averages? So this is 85 bars, that's 44, so that sounds to me like somewhere around 65 or so, eh? Somewhere in that area. So if we take 65 bars, something like that, well, that's sort of suggesting somewhere around there. So that would be sort of my... I'm not really going to get into the business of predicting, just what was the average of the last couple cycles. Could we do something similar along that as sort of like a roadmap of kind of what to expect? Actually, I don't mind that thinking. I really don't. If we go back to this image, you'll notice that actually I've laid out all of these cycles. And like I said earlier, the most important thing I think is sort of top of the market to the bottom of the market. How long did it take for us to go from absolute stupidity, Alan, fucking Saturday Night Live, nonsense joke, market, Danny, magic internet money, little cocky little sons of bitches in the crypto space having the audacity to tell the U.S. Treasury to go fuck themselves. I mean, yeah, if you tell the U.S. government to go fuck themselves, you're not going to obey. I mean, what was the line that he used? It was so cocky. He said, like, I'm not interested in having conversations with the legacy fiat system. You start acting like that, the legacy fiat system is going to say, I'm not interested in you being alive anymore, sir. Thank heavens they didn't actually murder him. But frankly speaking, it wouldn't put him past him. I mean, they murdered Lincoln. They murdered Kennedy. They really tried really hard to murder Mr. Old Hickory. I always forget what his name is as president. McKinley? No. What's Old Hickory's name again? I think it's not Andrew Jackson. I don't know. Anyway, Old Hickory. Google it. They took a couple pop shots at Mr. Reagan, just to remind him who's in charge. So for this little punk ass bitch to come along in crypto land and say, I don't give a fuck about you people. Wow, Jesus, that guy, he didn't realize that he's actually pretty fortunate to still be alive. Andrew Jackson. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate that. And what I do find interesting is these banksters, to just try and keep the fucking con job going, they actually funded a musical on Broadway about Alexander Hamilton, like one of the most boring fucking 19th century political figures. Oh, and by the way, he got killed in a duel with I think it was Aaron Burr. Shot him. I mean, obviously, if you're getting murdered in duels, you must be making pretty offensive comments about other people's characters. But anyway, I did find it fascinating. I always was left scratching my head. Who on earth would fund a musical on Broadway about a banker? What? This makes no sense. Unless, of course, it's the banksters who want the public to think, oh, Alexander Hamilton and federalism? That's a good thing. Having the Fed running our money supply? That's a good thing. I know. Let's go fund nonsensical, stupid waste of time musicals on Broadway so that all of the intelligentsia goes, woo, yeah, we should not question the Federal Reserve System. They're good. God, what a joke. Anyway, it just goes to show how programmed our society is. Okay, back to Ben's original question. When the hell do we buy this damn thing? So as you can see, just from this cycle and actually all this is almost just like a absolute replication of all of these dates. So there you can see sort of giving us a window of when we should start to expect the market to ramp up. And then also to the previous cycle. But notice, these lines, they look very, very similar. There's not a heck of a lot of difference. And then the greatest part about all this is there's actually a really easy tell in this space. I mean, it's insanely easy. It's almost so easy that I think people completely discount it, and they don't realize how easy this actually is. This Bitcoin thing, it goes through a fundamental restructuring. Is it every 4 years? I think it is like 4 years. I don't know if it's exactly 4 years, but
yeah, mostly.
Yeah, this halvening event. And I've watched that literally prior to the halvening event, Bitcoin acts a certain way, and it's all about, the conversation is always dominated about the previous cycle and people thinking about the old highs. Then as soon as we get on through that and then into the halvening event, the whole conversation changes, and all the new people that come into this space, they all get excited about the halvening event and all this kind of fun stuff. And then once we have the halvening event, it's almost like that is a non-event now. And it's like a brave new world, brave new coin, right? Whatever. And I've watched this now like 3 times. There. Then there was this one. And I seem to remember, I think actually I remember when I first got into the space, there was a happening over here. Don't have that mapped out. Maybe in the coming weeks I'll do a little bit more research and map all these pictures out with some price data that actually goes back to there with that brave new coin. But here's sort of the same thing. This one was really graphic. That literally through all of this, all the conversation was, are we ever going to see the old highs again? Excuse me. Then we had a pretty normal rally off of the lows right into, remember I showed you Mountain Man there earlier, and this is one of the main reasons why I like to start the reload zone at Mountain Man. So in this particular case, you can see short Mountain Man, that 61.8 fib, and that was just money, right? Market just kept going all the way down, all the way back to this 61.8. And I even noticed that when this counter trend rally happened, in this environment, we were no longer talking about this sort of the bear market slide of this. People were more interested in, is Bitcoin going to take out these lows? Are we going to actually trade back up into these highs? Was that the top? And you can sort of see. And then, of course, we had our Cocoa event. And I think Cocoa actually, it actually opened up an opportunity that I don't think would have normally presented itself. And it is what it is. This is, we had one site member a while ago who we publicly touted about how the fact that he stepped in and bought this 88.6, I mean, that was just a gift from God. And sure enough, there was that event, the Cocoa event, there is the halvening, and wow, what a move. So, ironically enough, you can make this really easy on yourself. The rule, and if you look at these little timelines, I think the rule is just generally speaking, about 6 months to a year prior to the upcoming halvening event, that's where you should expect Bitcoin to stop going down, start cleaning itself up, and start getting ready for the next rally. So, I don't know whether this is accurate or not, but last time I sort of checked and we did up lines beginning of April 2024 is our next sort of official halvening event window. I think it's now March, but somewhere in there. So if you just think backwards, and let's just assume for argument's sake it is April. If we head back on over to our little futuristic prognostication, where is April 1st? Right there. So this was the 1415 bottom, and it turned back up, and it was interesting. That was the Silk Road, the second Silk Road government seized Bitcoin's auction that started that bull. This one here, like we said, we had the Cocoa kind of distraction. And really, if you didn't have Cocoa, I think that the next bull actually started here, but Cocoa kind of derailed that, right? And we could even say, you could call this like the Cocoa curveball. The Cocoa curveball cost us about, it looks like about 28 weeks. So you might say that under normal circumstances, the Cocoa market should have bottomed somewhere in here. But we had to, shouldn't we debate mortgaging our future? Shut the fuck up. Give them the money. Give them the money. Right, all that nonsense. That actually created this inverted head and shoulders. And like we said, the halvening was right here. So we knew ahead of the halvening the damn thing was going to take off anyway. So point of the matter is, there is sort of our next anticipated halvening. So that tells me that the window to start buying probably opens here, and it goes to probably something like there. If anything, this is good, because what it does mean is that we're getting pretty darn close. Number one, price action is not that far away. Here's I've often said, and the last cycle is a good example. You can see the W's down in here, and if you do like a fib just off of this range, notice there's 78.6. There's the W's. Remember Mr. Simon Dixon, all that kind of conversation. So there's 78.6. I feel very confident that we're probably going to bottom right off of this level. There is the Wyckoff check levels, right? If we think about cost of production, that's this image. Again, there's our fibs for 61.8 to 78.6. And you can even see I've talked lots in the community about my anticipation of this thing bottoming down here. S19s, F17s, sort of pre-cocoa kind of cost basis, production cost basis. I guess there is cocoa there. So you can see how cocoa actually dipped price into the S17 level. And I wouldn't even be surprised to see that. Is that these things sort of work their way up over the next, probably 6-8 months. Notice how these things work their way up through this whole correction. There's the ultimate bottom last cycle, but notice how cost of production was slowly working its way up over time. So I fully expect these cost of production models just to slowly keep working their way up. And I think probably off of this 78.6 area, that's probably where we ultimately bottom. Somebody gave us a couple different variables of a private person mining and what their cost basis was. Still pretty high at 20 G's. I have a funny feeling that people that are in the business of mining Bitcoins right now, they are going to be politely escorted out of the market. This is sort of a tragic sort of commentary, but it's a really, really good tell of when to expect a bottom in Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now, in my opinion, it does not care what price Bitcoin is. In fact, what I would probably say is Bitcoin doesn't like Bitcoin price up here. Why would price do this? That's it. That would be an interesting rhetorical question. Because if you actually look at the Bitcoin network itself, there are the sort of tools that you can use to gauge how happy the Bitcoin network is. And this is a really, really good tool. This NVT study. You can see, according to this NVT study, and it's sort of like, number of transactions on the blockchain, and I think a relative speed and sort of friction. I don't know the math that well. I'm not really good at that stuff. What I'm really good at is I can point out green. Really good. I'm really good at seeing green color. And I'm really, really good at seeing red color. What do you think, Ben? Is that pretty easy to see? Green color, red color? I don't know. Maybe that's complicated. I don't know.
That's a pretty unique skill.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, when they go through these face rip kind of markets, interesting how the network wasn't even very happy through here. Then there was this big face rip rally, unhappy, and then of course this, and look at this, just solid red. This means that the network is not happy. I hope we don't have to go all the way back down to these kind of levels to get the network happy again. But if we just cover up, there's if we just cover up, there's I guess here we'll do this one. It's one of these. There we go. Probably would also like to see W's. W's would be nice to see. So this is a really good visualization that the network's not really that happy. It's probably being taxed really, really hard. And taxed is probably not the right word. That triggers all of you to think governments. It's being really pressured. That's what the impression I get when you get these red like this. Why would Bitcoin price do this? And even the price does this. The network itself is saying, I don't like this. This is not what I wanted to see. I'm not happy here. And sure enough, boom, down she comes. Okay, I'm getting happier. Here come W's. Oh, Jesus, now you went and did it again. Why would Bitcoin price be this volatile? Is there a reason? I hate to say it, folks. I think Bitcoin actually would be a perfectly acceptable alternative to the fiat currency system. Really simply put. End of statement. End of conversation. It's over. The one way that the banksters can prevent Bitcoin from becoming that alternative is if they make sure that this price is so volatile that people are like, well, how can I run a business off this? Am I going to collect 1 Bitcoin in fees up here? And I'm going to collect 1 Bitcoin in fees here? And this is the difference between me driving Lambos and gold-plated steaks, and this is me going out of business? I can't run a business using Bitcoin. The price is just too fucking volatile. And the irony of it all is the Bitcoin network does not even want this volatility. Why is this volatility here? And the answer is, it's to prevent Bitcoin from becoming adopted as an alternative to the fiat currency system. I honestly believe that, folks. Sad. And now what really bothers me is now the 1% has actually infiltrated on the inside of crypto. Now, I don't know whether they've corrupted the Bitcoin Lightning Network nodes yet, but, the whole damn Luna story and a lot of DeFi and stuff like that, they thought they were bulletproof. They thought they were bigger than the 1%, and the 1% just schooled them. So, it's interesting when you look at studies like this. This study is telling you Bitcoin itself doesn't even want to be this priced. And I think the bottom line here is that they're doing this just to make sure, number one, they can paint a story now of Bitcoin crashing. Bitcoin is a fraud. Bitcoin's, you're going to lose all your money if you invest in Bitcoin. Well, yeah, because some stupid fucks bid this thing up way, way, way too far. And of course, the public with people like Alan. Why didn't Alan come out and say publicly, if you buy into my asset here, you're buying into a very, very overbought market. This is a very expensive market. This is a market that's gone way too far, way too fast. This is not investment quality. Now, why didn't he say that? Does he not have a conscience? Mr. Allen, can you please publicly come out and comment about this? Never heard him say one goddamn word about this, which really bothers me immensely. Is Allen part of this scam to fuck us all over in the public? Why did it have this kind of volatility, considering where we are now? I mean, it's just basically let's take all the public's money and let's take it right back down to where we started. It's borderline criminal. And I might even argue, why do people in history have the evil American capitalist pig? It's because of that. It's because Bitcoin, number one, what's the value of Bitcoin? Well, the value of Bitcoin is what it costs to maintain the network. The Bitcoin value is the trustless, permissionless validation of the ledger that can only happen through independent mining of this story and the ledger and the way Satoshi built this. And it's a beautiful concept. The only problem is I think it's almost too beautiful. And like I said, what you saw with the Citadel, BlackRock, and Goldman is in behind all this shit. They're destroying this dream. Why? Because they bid the price up way too much. They sucker the public to come in up top in an asset that's overvalued, and it's even telling you itself, look, I'm not happy. I don't want to be up here. Where the hell is that damn thing? This. The asset itself is telling you, I don't want to be up here. It's kind of tragic, really. So, point of the matter here, blah, 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 blah. Brian, get off your fucking high horse. Notice, few months before the halving, no concerns here. Few months before the halving, 6 months before the halving, no concerns here. Right? And I'm not talking about the Bitcoin price. I'm talking about this NVT study. If anything, it's good. We're finally getting the fluff taken out of the market. So that's good. That's a good sign. Now maybe we can show signs of W's. That would be a good sign. It's going to take some time because unfortunately, look, oh, Jesus, they just put in a new M. Yuck. So, I don't know whether this helps answer Ben's question, but I think this is just a really, really good way to keep you honest in using Bitcoin. And what you have to do, there's stupid fucking idiots that just piss me off to no end because they're just the classic capitalist bullshit shill. And the worst part about the bullshit capitalist shill is these guys will get rich off of this. They'll be like, oh my God, this is the most incredible thing that's happened since yesterday. Their little captions on YouTube with them holding up their hands and their mouths have to be wide open, of course. That's some sort of prerequisite on these stupid fucking shill videos. And they say things like technical analysis doesn't matter. Just buy. And they get 100 signups with their referral codes, and people go and mortgage their houses and, put $1 million into Bitcoin. And, it's sort of like, okay, now I'm in. Okay, when's it going to go to 1 million? And it goes down 50%. And of course, then the problems start. And the shillers, they're long gone. What are the shillers doing? They're sitting there showing you their collection of gold watches and how fucking awesome they are. Ugh, it drives you crazy. It just goes back to this, this image of Doge. This is basically one big fucking con job is what this is. So it's really tragic. It's a little bit, frankly speaking, I've been in this space crypto for 8 years, and I really thought that maybe, just maybe, this time it's different. Guess what, folks? Whenever you hear somebody ever say the expression, this time it's different, ironically enough, that's exactly the point when you know that it's exactly the same as every other fucking cycle. The more things change, the more they stay exactly the same. Okay, so back to Ben's question. Giving you a little bit of sort of average window, sort of thinking about next halving, thinking about what a typical bear usually looks like, how long it takes for markets to ultimately bottom. Do we get a curveball like Coco or something coming in here? Maybe, who knows. But on balance, Ben, does that sort of help you get an idea of when I'm thinking the market's going to turn back up here?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You'll have to pop a screen grab of that, and I'll put it on the app.
Sure. Well, the best part about it is the price will go, woohoo! See you later, Brian. That hour-long rant was a complete waste of time. And, of course, that's what markets love to do, right? Keep in mind, I think I showed you earlier the benefit of actually getting into the business of predicting the future. It's tough. The good part about it is what I often tell people is usually I'm right because I've been playing this game a while. I generally have a pretty good feel for what's going to happen going forward, but usually I'm early. And if anything, if I'm saying that if anything, this is one of the reasons why I like to use these averages of previous years, is I'm not really getting into the business of predicting what's going to happen. I'm just going to say, based on what we've done in the past, what would be most likely. And then also, too, like I said, we have a totally unfair advantage in this space in that we have this halving event that's fairly consistent. And I've noticed that literally the psychology of the market completely changes around these halving event windows. And we know if I'm not mistaken, that it's coming up the end of March, beginning of April of 2024, right? What's also interesting about this too is by the time we actually hit this halvening event, we should be in rally mode, right? So if we look at this this chart, here is the halvening event, this last one right there. But notice we were already starting to rock and roll, and I make the argument that we actually already bottomed. They just gave everybody an extra added window to get in, which was kind of lucky. But we had already bottomed. We bottomed way over here. And then this halvening event, I think it's the same sort of thing. So you can't really wait for the halvening event, because what I think happened, so there's the halvening event, but the bottom was way over here. So what I think happens is that, things like Google searches and, hey, did you hear Bitcoin's going to have, it's coming up. And it becomes one of those sort of buy the rumor, sell the news events. If anything, this is a good example. You see how it was getting bid up, and then it actually pulled back here for a little while. So I think this was sort of the buy the rumor. Things got maybe a little ahead of themselves, and then sell the news, had to clean up, and then we head off on the trend. And I'm not going to say this is exactly the same, but it's similar. So we had buy the rumor, and really I might even argue all of this was sort of getting ready for this event. Then sell the news. You can see it kind of went sideways, and then literally whatever the sort of inertia is following that, just go with it. So waiting for the actual halvening event to actually start accumulating Bitcoin, I don't think that's the way to do it. I think the way that you got to do it is you got to anticipate the bottom, 78.6s. You got to understand that sort of 1 year window. Here's another, there's a couple other things that we could talk about. I did a tweet out the other day. This is an interesting volume profile in that most of the business, this is the tragedy of this. Like we talked about, some idiots were telling people to buy Bitcoins up here. But did the public actually listen? Did the institutional players, did they buy any up here? This study on the right-hand side of the screen, this is what's called a volume profile. And it actually shows you exactly at all the levels how much volume was traded where. And you could see up here at 50,000 plus, not many buyers. Very thin. Just a couple idiots that are shilling. You want to write this down. Great Del Moody dude. That guy, he literally writes down everything that I said, and I think now he's become a hell of a trader because of it. So way to go, dude. Another say, this time it's different. Whenever you hear anybody say this time it's different, it's exactly the same. Be careful. Here, on this event right here, it was the weirdest thing. All of the Ethiopian shillers, and I don't know whether the Nigerian princes, they all started to come in here and they just went over the top shill on Doge. And it was fascinating, literally watching this little guy from Nigeria, and every second or third word or sentence, it seemed like every second or third word, he would go la 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 la, and I was like, why the fuck is this guy doing this? It was the weirdest thing I had ever saw, and there were tons of people in the chat going, "Oh yeah, buy Doge, you get rich." And I think it was actually a very well orchestrated scam, and to get the public to buy, but also to make sure that things like Google Analytics and stuff like that didn't pick up on the shill. So you have to sort of keep your ear to the ground for these kind of things. That was a really, really good tell of a bubble market, and this thing was a trap. And affectionately, I like to tell people, if you ever hear Brian make reference to the fact that he's going to change his name to some crazy-ass woman's name, I don't even know if it is a woman, I think it is, but anyway, right through here was really joking. I said that I was going to change my name. I said that I had a bunch of Doge for sale up here above $1, And if I got my fills, I was going to change my name to Sedona Euphoria. Because actually I was going to get just a ridiculously large payday. And we were even kicking around the idea of going and buying like landed gentry estates down in Georgia and stuff. And just living the good life as a plantation owner. That never happened. I did actually get some off up top here, though, so it wasn't so bad. But, actually the same thing that I just showed you with Bitcoin. You see that volume profile, and you see how all they had to do is they had to bring price right back down to where everybody else is really owning this thing. Only the Alan appearing on Saturday Night Live, shilling just nonsense. Those are the only people that bought up here. Everybody else that actually owns this thing in size is long from down here. So what a surprise. Price has to come all the way right back down. So I mention that because, well, gee whiz, that's exactly what the Bitcoin chart looks like, right? So there is your volume profile. There is where everybody and their brother is long. And it makes sense, right? Because that's what all this consolidation was. This is where everybody invested, not up here. So where are they likely to bring price back down to? Well, you can see it. They're likely to bring price right back down to this shelf, which is basically our Benkoff check level. There's nothing really new here. That's the irony of all of this. And then, so, Benkoff check, 78.6. Volume profile, the shelf. And then the last thing I would say with this is actually a pretty well-defined harmonic pattern. Actually, it was interesting. I was one of our site OGs is a harmonic guru, and he was actually the one who put together all of the little notes on this. I used to have this pinned up beside my desk when I was prop trading. Actually, Stephen, if you're watching this, I gave you a glowing reference. So hopefully your accounting firm loves you and they give you they give you a signing bonus. I said you were that valuable. We'll see anyway. You can see here this is a pretty popular harmonic pattern. It's called the ABCD, and it would be a normal, just very symmetrical move. AB is a measured move, A to B, and then C to D. So that's what this is. Sometimes they can go 127, 1618. Point of the matter here is, and actually on sites like TradingView, they even give you tools to measure these. And you can come in here. These are all their harmonics. So there's the ABCD. So we can go A to B, C, and if this is perfectly symmetrical, then A to B, C to D will be exactly the same distance, and notice that that looks like a symmetrical object. So this is actually a very normal harmonic pattern. What a surprise. This is what we call a PRZ down here, this point D, or potential reversal zone. I made reference to Stephen because, of course, he loves his harmonics. And I even told his future fund manager guy that Stephen was very interested in harmonics. And he didn't have a clue what that was all about. But anyway, point of the matter here was I feel pretty confident that this harmonic level has to be traded to as well. So that's around 12,000. That's basically Ben's level right there. That's the top of value, 78.6. Hopefully you guys are seeing that. There's a heck, I often say, let's see if you guys can answer. Let's see if Paul's still awake. I don't know whether he probably fell back asleep, but if you can find 3 reasons for a trade, Paul, how many other reasons can you usually find for a trade?
Another 10, 20 reasons.
Yeah, okay. We'll just jump
but
right
I just need 3 reasons to take a trade.
Right. So, hopefully you can see whether it be harmonics, whether it be volume profile, whether it be Mr. Wyckoff, whether it be Fibonacci. I think we got a heck of a lot of reasons to look for price to come down into this area, so that's what I'm thinking. So what do you think, Ben?
My orders are below the 21 mark.
I beg your pardon?
21. My buy orders are below 21K.
So Paul is sitting here. In fact, I guess we need an icon for you. What do you want to be, Paul? We gotta make you an icon here. Who should you be? Should you be? I think Paul's the judge. So we're gonna put Paul. There's Paul and his gavel. He's dropping the gavel. There's
below
21
21
right down
because
there.
Michael Saylor has a margin call below 21K.
Oh boy, yeah.
So my orders are below his margin call.
So that's it. That's a really interesting point. If you're not familiar with Mr. Saylor, he went and leveraged himself pretty hard. I don't know. I mean, I guess
liquidity below that level.
I guess he. What I don't understand about Mr. Saylor is he went through the exact. It's kind of funny. I showed you this image about price action in year 2000. And you can literally see that it's happening again. It's almost shocking the way they ramp these damn stocks up into this event. And on the other side, how everything's all just melting down on the other side of this damn Jupiter-Saturn cross. So this is the weird thing about Mr. Saylor, is that he's been through this. And, I mean, hell, I've been sitting here barking about this forever. I'm not quite sure why this guy is not clued into this. It's quite bizarre, really. I mean, hell, Great Dalmudi, I'm sure you already have this, but write this one down if you don't. J.P. Morgan himself said that millionaires disregard astrology, billionaires don't. And what I find fascinating about this guy is he literally did exactly the same thing through the dot-com peak. Isn't it? It's like history just basically repeated itself. There's 2000. This is Mr. Saylor's stock. There's 2021. And Mr. Saylor's stock. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. And from what I understand, like Paul said, he did like some sort of crazy leverage play to go and buy more Bitcoins up top. Obviously, he was listening to German guys telling them that technical analysis didn't matter and just buy Bitcoins. I guess maybe he must be part of that German guy's subscription group. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, point of the matter. So that's interesting how Paul is going to keep an eye on this guy. And what's fascinating about this, and actually I even put a tweet about it the other day, is you can actually really see the fear-greed cycle in the speculative asset market really well with this guy's stock. It's quite shocking, really. By the way, this is my personal Twitter feed. I'm pretty salty, so if you don't like a guy who likes to swear a lot and sort of is kind of irreverent, this is my cover photo. If you don't know who this guy is, then you don't understand cryptocurrencies. So do yourself a favor. If you don't know who this guy is, figure out who this guy is before you ever invest a penny in cryptocurrencies. Do yourself a favor. You have to know what you're getting involved with here. So that's why I have his picture on here, because it just makes me laugh how cliche this all is. Anyway, a little bit more PMA angle. And I thought this was a really, really good idea. We created this TRI Twitter feed, and the gentleman who's sort of quarterbacking this feed, I swear, he's you can just pop him in your mouth, and he's just the cutest little gumdrop ever. He's just absolutely the ultimate personification of PMA. He's just a beautiful little soul. He's just, or big soul. He's got actually a huge aura. And I think it's probably a better way to sort of follow along the TRI community. It's the same message. The only problem is Brian's an old, salty, bitter motherfucker. So sometimes I'll say things that are a little bit controversial. Anyway, but I thought it was interesting. I did up a report recently, and of course Brian going on about fucking... I mean, you want to see Great Dalmudi making reference to the Rothschilds. Keep in mind, the Rothschilds basically own the Bank of Canada. And it's so tragic, because there's Karen, right? Karen's just trying to get by. She doesn't know what the hell to do with her life, right? And now she's having to deal with shrinkflation. So not only are we getting price inflation, the actual prices are going up, but they're also now reducing the amount in the actual packaging at the same time. So poor old Karen, she's just getting absolutely railroaded. This is the Rothschilds. This is the inflation is the banker's tax. It's as simple as that, folks. If we didn't have those massive bailouts in 2008 where Joey Diamond and all the Goldman Sachs assholes all just got away with absolute crime there, we wouldn't be living in this hyperinflation. And the irony of it all is probably Bitcoin would have never come into existence. There would be no need for it. So it's kind of sad, but poor old Karen, she just gets screwed over. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make with this is I did up an interesting study here. Look at the similarities between Mr. Saylor's stock, this MicroStrategies, and the fear psychology, the greed fear psychology curve. Isn't that remarkable? It's like literally exactly the same image, isn't it? To me, it just screams it. Remember we were talking about volume profile there earlier? So we're actually finally back down into price levels where actually people are invested. It's fascinating how there's this huge gap. We have a rule basically at TRI. Well, I mean, statistics. Anybody on the YouTube page watching, type in what you think the statistical odds are that that gap will be filled in, i.e. price will have to come down. And it almost did there the other day. The fact that it didn't means actually there's one more stab down here at some point down the road. Anyway, the answer is 91%. Pretty damn high number. So, where are we in this slide? And also, too, if we look at this image, right, think about what's sort of going on psychologically with the crypto community. Does it not feel to a certain degree people are maybe a little bit in denial? Notice how it says they're in denial. I don't know whether you can see that or not. It's kind of hard to see. Let's see. Can we zoom in on that? Oh, there we go. Yeah. Cool. All right. So you see anxiety. Do you see denial right here? What I'm worried about is we still have to go through the panic. Oh my God. It's the end of the fucking world. We're close to the bottom. I mean, just think about it. There's the top way over there. And now we're in this phase right here. But this next 6 months, it's just such a fucking pain in the ass to get through. So don't be in a huge hurry to go throw your money at the market here, folks. Really, seriously, don't. Remember, Bitcoin is not isolated. Bitcoin actually is operating in the context of what I would consider a very normal market cycle here. And unfortunately, these Jupiter-Saturn crosses, there's an old rule in the market, and I think the whole cocoa thing kind of derailed it. But the rule goes that usually recessions happen in years and ending in 8s, 9s, 0s, 1s, and 2s. Well, here we are, folks. This is a big 2. We dodged the recession that should have happened in 1920 there with that ridiculous bailout. Shouldn't we debate mortgaging our kids' future? Shut the fuck up. Give them the money. Give them the money. That created this massive hyperinflation bubble. The banksters, I think, actually did that entirely on purpose because they have to keep inflating the economy, i.e. printing money, to justify these democratically elected governments continually running deficits when they really shouldn't. But that's music to the banksters' ears. The banksters love that. They don't give a fuck about your country. Your country and the capital stock, the net worth of your country to the banksters is irrelevant. The only thing that matters to the banksters is they have to maintain their business model, i.e. lending at interest. That has to continue. If it means you sacrifice whatever the fiat currency hegemony proxy du jour is. What's fascinating, and I think I should pin this message somewhere because I probably won't be able to find it really quickly, But if you actually look at the history of fiat currencies, almost every single century they jump to a new proxy. And it's like 500 years ago, it was like the Spanish, what did they used to call them? Oh, damn it, I can't remember the name. Anyway, the gold coins, they used to have a very specific name for the Spanish coins. Then the Spanish, of course, got defeated by Elizabeth I, I think it was. God, I can't remember. My English history is slipping. The famous Spanish Armada, right? They were going to go defeat the British. But anyway, then we flipped to, I think it was like the Dutch guilder. Then they flipped to like the French franc. Then they flipped to the British pound. Then they flipped to the US dollar about 100 years ago. And really, if you look at any images of the value of the US dollar over the US Federal Reserve System came into existence in 1913. And basically since that date, they have just literally sacrificed the value of the US dollar to the point where it's not even like 1% of its original value. Which is really pathetic. So anyway, point of the matter here is poor old Karen, right? She doesn't understand any of this. And her standard of living is directly affected. It goes into, there was a famous quote. One of the Rothschilds was building a castle in Europe, and some guy went and toured it, and he said, holy shit, kings couldn't even afford this place. It was that over the top. So basically Karen's life and her standard of living are basically going straight into the banksters' pockets. And that's really what's going on in our society. Anyway, and I mean, this Vancouver real estate market, what a great example. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Now, I mean, the worst part about this is that the banksters, they clued into the fact that the Chinese, they have no real sort of confidence in stock indexes and stuff like that. So everybody just plays the real estate market there, and doing things like buying a half of an interest in a condo as a speculative investment. Of course, you're never going to live. How can you live in half a house? I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. But this is what's happening in Vancouver to keep the bubble going, is now they're selling fractional interest in these condos. It's ridiculous. I mean, and the worst part about this is that basically the democratically elected politicians that are supposed to be actually working in the populace best interest, they're working for fucking European fucking technocrat Klaus Schwab idiots. And anytime you go into government and you say, excuse me, can you explain your relationship with Klaus Schwab and this fucking World Economic Forum and, a whole new world order and the Great Reset? They go, oh, that's terrorist talk. Cut that question off. You're not allowed to ask that question. It's like, you got to be kidding me. It's incredible how detailed this con job is. I mean, they've thought of everything, right down to the point where people aren't actually going to live in homes anymore. Every home in Vancouver is going to be a speculative investment that's probably owned by some Chinese that will never even come to Canada. But it's a great little speculative property. Drives you crazy. I got a cough. I'm going to put myself on mute a second here. I get all excited. I need a sip of water. What do you think, Ben? I think about a half an hour ago you asked me a question, eh? I don't know how the hell I got sucked down this vortex.
Yeah, I just had to wind you up once, and yeah, no, that was awesome, and I think that's a really great image to have as a reference point.
It is an interesting, and if you map all this out, right, all the timelines and stuff like that, and then we overlay, when the next happening event is supposed to come along. If I can find a damn chart. No, I've lost it. Actually, I think these images are very similar, right? Do you see that? So really in fact, actually, this might be kind of cool. Check this out. Let's see if we can do this. Because I think this is going to look a lot like, which one? Believe it or not, actually, I think it's going to look a lot like AMD. So if we take AMD's price action, and we'll copy that, and then we'll go back over here, and we'll dump this in here. Probably something along those lines, right? Now the question is, I wonder whether AMD maybe looks something like that. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty close. So, AMD is more of a computer. It might be interesting to look at like NVIDIA, but keep in mind this is from the .com boom. This is like 20-year-old data. So fascinating how the similarities are quite shocking if we sort of line up the peaks with the peaks here, and sort of our prognostication of where this sort of the bear slide ends. I don't know whether AMD is a good example to use, whether we should use one that that has a peak here. In fact, we could probably just overlay all of them, right? And Microsoft is probably a really good one. These are stocks, right? So obviously Bitcoin's not exactly the same. But there's Microsoft, same sort of thing. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. Actually, wow, look at that. And the interesting thing is Microsoft actually came into Bitcoin very hard. That's the irony of all this. Like, did you know, Ben, that Microsoft actually owns quite a bit of Bitcoin? A lot of people don't know that. I remember Microsoft specifically came in, right? And it was all in the news and everything. This is where Microsoft came in right here, right through that. Anyway, so hopefully that's somewhat helpful. I don't know. Hope it is. You got just general idea of what I'm thinking here. But again, you know, if we just line up these peaks, and I don't know whether we want to go off of that peak, it almost feels like maybe that second peak was a little bit of an anomaly. Again, if we actually line it up off of that peak, notice that bottom comes in right sort of when we're thinking bottoms. Something along those lines. That wouldn't surprise me. Maybe it's that far. But I love it. I love the fact that Bitcoin has this happening. AMZ, what's AMZ? Is that Amazon, you mean?
Yeah, that 2000 chart of Amazon, which is the other.
Yeah, so
the other one that had
over here. Actually, yeah, that probably looks better. Let's copy that. And I just randomly picked a bunch of names that I knew were actually around in 2000, and I was rather shocked actually to see the correlation. Wow, look at that, eh? That's not bad. Look at that. That's pretty darn close. Good that you mentioned that, Ben. Yeah, that's pretty darn close, eh? Somewhere in there. So, you know, whether you use something like Bezos, I'm not quite sure why that's not moving. Let's see, maybe we go like that and pull that down a bit. There we go, something along those lines. Yeah, that's actually not a bad path going forward. That would also have sort of our bottom, and actually I wouldn't be surprised if they do something like this, right? They put the bottom in, and then there's one more little FU move against the bottom, because everybody's going to be like, okay, that Beamish guy says it's a year. Okay, that's it. There's no lows. And then all of a sudden they say, well, I thought you said Beamish this wasn't going to go to new lows. Look at it. It's going to new lows. Get me the fuck out of there. And then instantly a W comes in and off it goes. You know, I could totally see that. In fact, actually, that reminds me of the Phoenix lows, because I think if you go back, and I don't know how to do this, but let's see what happens. More charts. Yeah, fucking A. If we go BTC USD, and then we go to Phoenix, which nobody ever talks about anymore. There's BTC on Phoenix. Notice, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, look at that. So you can see here they took out the lows just by a wink. You see that? So I could see them do the same thing. I could see them do exactly the same thing. So remember, I've told you guys that I really think this cycle that we're going through right now is exactly like this 13, 14, 15 cycle. That's what I think we're going through right now. So interesting how over on Phoenix, they actually had to go through that low just by a heartbeat there. So anyway. Okay, holy jeez, it's already 8 o'clock? Oh, damn. I really didn't expect that to happen. I'm sorry. Uh, we didn't even have one Sharktoshi corruption there, eh?
Not this time.
Okay, actually, and Paul says Amazon has the same megaphone. That's interesting. Paul, what do you think? Do you want to walk the good people through your most recent sort of setup that you're trading?
Yeah.
I really would like for you guys to actually get to know some of my cohorts and stuff. They're actually really good traders. I mean, the fact that I just talk so damn much, it's it's not really doing them any justice. Sorry, dude. What do you want to do? Do you want to give me a screenshot of what you're looking at, or
I
would you
could
like
screen
to?
share on my screen. I could
You
share
want
the
to screen
screen.
share?
Yeah.
We can do either or. I don't care.
Yeah, I'll work better with screen share.
Okay, so Paul has basically bought the Kool-Aid, bought the punch, however it goes. And the great part about Paul is that he just basically trades setups, doesn't really have too much of an opinion, and he's just in there doing his thing. So I'm going to put his screen on full screen. We'll hide our pictures, although, geez, Ben's such a handsome guy. Maybe we should just leave it on there. But change layout. Oh, okay, there he goes. So he just took his camera off. Okay, that makes it easy. Okay, so I'll turn my camera off. All right, so here is Paul's. Whoops, maybe I didn't exit full screen. There we go. Okay, so here is Paul's screen, and just tell us a little bit about what you see in price action and where you think we're headed. And really, it doesn't really, it's just great hearing other perspectives. So take it away, sir.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're seeing.
Yeah. So for me, it's just a big range in a smaller range. Price is ranging from 12 May until now. Everyone sees the bear market at this level and a bull market at this level, like at least the beginner traders. And I'm just trading the range game. I just sell when I see the upper part of the range, and I just look for buying opportunities in this area. Quite simple for me. When the price is up, I'll try to look for a short setups, and when the price is down here, I'll try to take a long. I had a pretty profitable week with this strategy, and I'll keep doing that until I'll be proven wrong, until this range will be broken down or up. It doesn't matter to me. I'll just keep doing what is working. Keep it simple. When the price will be here, I'll try to find out short setups. And I usually go on because the altcoin space is a bit weaker than that the Bitcoin. I will try to short the Ethereum chart. I'll try to find short setups on Ethereum, and when the price is down, I'll try to find long setups on Bitcoin. So last week, that's all I did. I just look for long setups, look for short setups, 2 hours to reward. Keep it simple, nice W on smaller time frames. But I day trade, so I look on the 15-minute chart and 5-minute chart. So this is my opinion. I just trade this range until it's broken. Yeah, it'll be nice to see a nice W in this area and the reload zone of this bounce. But until then, I'll just trade the range. On a bigger time frame, I had a short reload zone on 35 to 37K. If we'll get there, I'll look for a nice swing short setup. But for now, until this range is broken, I'll just play the range game. I see you on Twitter and even in different groups. When the price is up at 31K, everyone is bullish. When the price is down at 28K, everyone is bearish and expects 20K. I just play the range. It's quite simple for me. Now I closed all my trades before the FOMC meeting and I didn't open any trade. We are in the middle of this channel, so it's no trade zone for me. I just have to wait to find the setups, a short setup or a long setup. For now, I'm on the sidelines. I'm just waiting. That is my short-term view on Bitcoin and crypto. Altcoins, same thing.
Okay.
But I prefer to focus on Bitcoin because it's a clearer picture on Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder to manipulate. The other altcoins, they already started to make pump and dumps. So they'll pump the price up and then dump it. So my play is Bitcoin and Ethereum. Almost all day I'll do that.
Can you grab like a lower time frame chart and just show it what a setup looks like off of like a 5 or 15-minute chart that you've done?
Yeah, I'll have to go on another, but I could go on a smaller time frame. This one. Yeah. This period right here, I didn't have any trade. Look at this one. I have an ICM, a nice check of DCM. This was a nice trade for me. I'll have to open another tabs to find the trades, but this was a nice trade for me.
Okay.
The price was up, it goes down, retested. I put a short. I put the stop loss above this level, and just put a 2-to-1 risk to reward and leave it to results.
Mm-hmm.
This one was too quick for me. I didn't take it.
Don't have to take every swing. It's just it's cool to see what a professional trader's setup looks like. And of course, I love M's and W's. So if Paul's telling me,
I'll keep it simple. I don't complicate the trading. I just see M's, W. I see retests.
Yeah.
I see confirmation indicators. I just took the trade. 2-to-1 risk to reward. Maybe trail some, close 70% at 2-to-1 and just trail the rest. Maybe I'll get another error.
Cool. Okay.
But this is what I see in the market right now. Just a big range.
And right now we're basically parked right in the middle of the range, eh?
Yeah, exactly. From the FOMC meeting on this. Here was the FOMC meeting.
Was it the release of the meeting minutes or something like that? Or Fed Powell was speaking or something?
Yeah, it was 10 p.m. in my hour.
Yeah.
Was the FOMC meeting. So from that moment until now, I don't have any setup. The price is exactly at the middle of the road, middle of the range. I'll just have to wait. Maybe at the stock market opening, or maybe at the London opening, couple of hours. Maybe I'll find out. We'll find the setup.
Yeah, I always Hogue used to always tell us, just wait for the market to move to extreme ends, because there's so much easier trades when you can hunt at either overbought or oversold.
I don't have any.
Okay, well, I was just curious. Thank you for the share. I always like to know what you're thinking and doing. And right now, I heard that he's sitting on the sidelines waiting. There's nothing wrong with that.
From last night.
Oh, cool. Okay. I guess what we should do is let's head back on over and check our crystal balls.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, if you want to stop screen sharing, I'll head back on over to the spreadsheet. And since you were the rightest out of all of us this last go round, you get the honors of telling us where the hell we're going next. The only problem is, where the hell's the damn spreadsheet? I have so many spreadsheets open. Give me a second here. Just gotta find it. Yeah, there it is. All right. All right. So, Mr. Awesome Trader, where are we going next?
Just a trader. Not awesome, just a trader.
I don't know. I just love you, babe. Deal with my over exuberance. Okay,
This time
Mr.
again.
Conservative Policeman, where are we going? Are we going to jail?
No, we're going up. +1 or
Plus one? You're gonna stay with plus
Plus
one?
one. Yep.
All right. So more slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, where are we going next?
Yeah, I was thinking of doing a +1 too.
Oh, all right. Another plus one. All right, and now the Beamish. Beamish should be pretty good at telling you exactly where the market is not going to go. And actually, it's interesting. Paul's narrow sideways channel, ironically for me, is basically I'm just waiting for the signal. If we break down through this 25 level here, this is a short level for me, and that's 27,000 and change. And if we break up through the top, and we came close, we're really close to trying to break out through the top. That's 29 and change, 29 and a half. And actually, you can see there's a new double bottom coming in here. Then I have to start thinking uppy. And that would take us up into, I think Paul was suggesting that his dead cat bounce area would take us up into that mid 30 area. So what the hell do I think is going to happen here? I think, I'm probably just going to go with an unchanged vote, a 0. That's probably what I'm feeling right now. So we'll see how it goes. If anything, the good sign for everybody else is we probably won't be unchanged. So place your bets. The Beamish is giving you an opportunity to make some money. So I'll go with 0. Sharky, if you want to vote, you're more than welcome to chime in. And we have 2 generally uppers out of Ben and Paul here this week. So, all right. So we've placed our bets. That's what we think is going to happen. Closing thoughts? Ben, maybe we'll start off with you. Any kind of thoughts you have sort of heading out of tonight's broadcast over the next week or two?
No, nothing specific. I've finally restarted back up the education program, so I'm looking forward to getting into level 2, and I'll probably have some nuggets to share along the way, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, good job.
Yeah. For anyone listening, send some PMA over to Brian and Liam for tomorrow.
Oh, hey, thank you. Oh, you're so awesome. I love the fact that you remember that. Thank you, sir. Liam, thanks you. Paul, thoughts? Hopes? Prayers?
Yeah, for me is just day trading every day. So manage your risk and leave it to results. Play your setups.
And it's kind of funny,
For
like
me,
really.
it's a routine. It's every day the same thing.
Yeah, really good traders, they actually end up just being completely flat.
Yeah. I don't think up, I don't think down. I just look at the chart. I look for setups, take my trades
If anything, if
every
it's
damn day.
I've done my job if I've taken the fun out of this game.
Yeah, it's not fun anymore.
Oh well, what can you do? Just take the market's money.
Yep.
Okay, PMA for the win, as always. If you did get any value out of that whole rant here this evening, remember the whole purpose of this show was to try and help us fund a booth in Decentraland. We put together a little ETH wallet. There's a few contributions, nothing really stunning. If we, actually, I do like the idea that maybe in the middle of 2023, Benner cycle, the market's completely washed out. If I understand correctly, should be interesting just to even see what it looks like. Yeah, we've come basically back down to earth. I fully expect this to flatline. Probably through the summer here, we're probably going to have one of these, right? Because this kind of looks like a big head and shoulders. So we're probably going to do something like that over the summer here. But nonetheless, we are getting back down into areas where now I can actually seriously think about going and buying a booth in there and setting up shop. But the whole purpose of this video series, we've been going now for the better part of a year here, was to basically get this booth up and running in Decentraland. So by all means, if you enjoyed the broadcast, if you like to help us along that dream, along that vision, feel free to contribute. Every penny counts. And of course, we just started up a new school term on the site, like Ben said. Great to hear Ben's moving on. Ben actually was pretty smart. A while ago, he locked in all the packages, and of course, stupid inflation world, all the prices just keep going up, up, up. We don't really have any choice, folks. So, if anything, smart move, Ben, going and grabbing all of the courses when you did. And now he's just sort of slowly working his way through the education program. So that's wise, and that makes me quite pleased to hear that. So, if anything, you're going to get to know Kiran this term, eh? And Marat. So that should be a lot of fun for you. Slow and steady wins the race. I get the feeling that we're closer to some sort of short-term pivot bottom than we are the top. They're probably going to take through the month of May, maybe even a bit of the month of June, to ultimately turn this corner back higher. And maybe through the summer we might have a little window where we can actually make a couple bucks flipping these altcoins and stuff. So look forward to that. I do notice that the media and the public, like Paul was saying, when we dip against those lows, the bearishness, the fear, the desperation, it's palatable. And, hearing lots of sort of talk about recessions and markets breaking and it's all over and all that kind of talk, which ironically enough is usually actually a sign of a bottom. It was interesting, and Ben, if you can find that article put out by JP Morgan, you said that they're suggesting that Bitcoin's actually near some sort of pivot. I wouldn't mind actually tweeting that out. I'd appreciate that. So that's an interesting comment. That's probably also another sort of anecdote that we're probably closer to some sort of short-term bottom pivot than the top. So those are good signs. So slow and steady wins the race. We had to get through this. Thank you, Ben. Actually, there's Ben's article now. So this is what he was talking about. JP Morgan says Bitcoin has significant upside from here and could rise to 38,000. Whoa, so bold of them. Oh, boy. So anyway, that's probably your summertime rally that I'm thinking about. And, of course, interesting how Paul was pointing out that mid 38,000, and I showed you that little bullish setup here. This bullish setup here would take us up into that 33 to 37, 38,000 window. So I guess a lot of people are seeing this. So we're probably closer to some sort of pivot bottom than top. Go slowly in this space because we are in this correction year. It's not going to be straight line. and just be forewarned. Probably, like we had sort of pointed out very early in the broadcast here, based on that previous election year price action. Where the hell is it? No, yeah, here. We might actually see a substantial rally here over the period of July and in through mid-August. So just keep your ears to the ground. You know, if you are half decent at this game of timing, I think you're probably going to see some bullish setups come in, and you should be able to make some money. Once we get through the end of August, all bets are off heading into the U.S. election. It could be a very, very contentious fall. So just be forewarned, everybody. And then, of course, like I said, once we get into like 2023, then we can actually start going, you know what? Actually, we're going to start forming a base here for the next bull run. And those are the absolute best times to be in the market. Because the public thinks everything sucks. Prices are really low. They're cheap. So a cheap ass like Brian loves to go shopping. And, you know, you tell anybody, hey, go buy crypto, and they'll look at you like you're from Mars. And, of course, that's always the best way to make money. You want to be buying when they're crying, selling when they're yelling. All right, everybody, I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you very much, Paul. You guys are awesome contributors, as always. Had a lot of fun talking to you guys tonight. PMA for the win. All the best. And the only thing left for Brian to say at this point is a big bye.